Okay, we're starting Masechet Berachot, Daf Bet Amud Aleph. Me'matai korin et shema ba'arvit. Gemara has a question here. When do we start? When is the time to fulfill the obligation of reading Kirat Shema? We know that there's a mitzvah twice a day to read Kirat Shema, b'shofrav komecha, when you go to sleep and when you wake up. But the Gemara here doesn't discuss what's the source of the obligation, but just when is the obligation to recite Kirat Shema. So the Gemara obviously will ask this question: why are we not starting with the very beginning, the foundation? What's the source of the mitzvah? So Matai Kurin Shema Ba'arvit, when is the proper time to read Kirat Shema Ba'arvit? At the evening. Gemara says Misha'ah she'kohanim nechasim lechol b'trumatan. From the time that the Kohanim are going inside, entering to eat truma. So when the Kohen is tameh, when he's impure, then that's the wait 7 days, and that day he goes to the mikveh, and the evening he can go inside and eat truma. At sof hashmar Mushana, divrei Rabbi Eliezer. So you can recite Kirat Shema until the end of the first watch. At sof shmar Mushana. So Rashi says shlish halayla. If we divide the night to three parts, right? So he says at the end of the first part, that's the limit. That's the point where you cannot. After this first 1/3, you cannot recite Kirat Shema. That's what Rabbi Eliezer says. Ahaim omrim ad chatzot. Ahaim says no, you can read Kirat Shema until midnight. Now what's the background? What's the reason why they argue? So Rashi says the reason why they argue because there's different interpretations how to explain b'shofar kumecha. One says when you go to sleep, when you start going to sleep. Okay? That's why it needs to be until the end of the first watch. The other rabbi says, until chatzot, no, it's when people are going to sleep. It doesn't have to be the beginning of when they go to sleep. Okay? Rabban Gamliel omer, ad she'alem od hashachar. Rabban Gamliel says, the entire night. Kol halayla karu zman shchiva. So as we mentioned, he holds that the entire night is considered shchiva. That's the time when people go. That's not when people starting to go to sleep. It's when people are the time when people are sleeping. That's basically the argument between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Eliezer and Rabban Gamliel. So Gemara now brings a story. Once the children, it happened to be that the children of Rabban Gamliel came home after midnight from a feast. אמרו לו, לא קראנו את שמע. They came very late. They said, "My dear father, we didn't yet read Kirat Shema. What should we do?" אמר להם, אם לא עלה עמוד השחר, חייבים אתם לקרוא. If it's not yet dawn, then you still have the opportunity, you still have the time to read Kirat Shema. And they told him, I will explain, what are they asking here? Are they asking, what does he think, or what's the halacha? So from the answer we understand that they are asking what's the halacha. They of course know what the father is saying. They know what the Rabban Gamliel is saying. The question is, what's the halacha? So therefore the answer is, it says, even Ikut Chachamim says, אמר להם, לא עלה עמוד השחר, חייבים אתם לקרות. ולא זו בלבד, אמרו, so they're saying, and Chachamim was saying that it should be at midnight, but that's just to a distance from the sin. And the Gemara Mishnah gives a few examples. אמרו, אלא כל מה שאמרו חכמים עד חצות, מצוותה עד שעלה עמוד השחר. So the Gemara says, all the many different, we have different examples that we learn that it's not just up till midnight. Yeah, they did say midnight, but it's just a distance a person from the sin. It's really until Amud HaShachar. First example is Ekter Chalavi V'Avarim, Mitzvot Ha'anat Shel Amud HaShachar. Second example, Kol HaNechelim B'Yom Echad, Mitzvot Ha'anat Shel Amud HaShachar. So the first example is the sacrificial of the fats and the limbs, that we know that it's up till Amud HaShachar. Okay? Mitzvatan Ad Shel Amud HaShachar. The main halacha, the main thing is Ad Shel Amud HaShachar. All the korbanot, all the sacrifices that you have to eat them on that day. What does it mean that day? Until Amud HaShachar. But we know that it's Atil Chatzot, because the Chachamim said it has to be Atil Chatzot. So in Kel Lamu Chachamim At Chatzot. Why did the Chachamim say that in those cases we should eat it up till Chatzot? Why not Amud HaShachar? If the halacha is Amud HaShachar, say Amud HaShachar. Why Atil Chatzot? Because we want to create a fence. We want people to distance from committing a sin. God forbid if they passed then it's a sin. So we are like tell them, warn them, so to speak, a few hours before that, hey, be careful, you have to read Kriyat Shema. So that's the conclusion of this Mishnah of Rabbi Gamliel, that the mitzvah is until Amud HaShachar, but we want to create a fence. Chachamim want to create a fence, and therefore they say until midnight. The Gemara says a question. Tana, so the first question we have here is, you are telling me that there's a mitzvah to read Kriyat Shema at night. So, but what is the source of this obligation? Where does it say in the Torah you have to read Kriyat Shema? The second question we have here is, why are we saying that the mitzvah is to read Kriyat Shema in the evening, and that's how we start the halacha, that's how we start the Masechet? Why don't start with the morning, with Shacharit? But Tosfot explains, it's not just a question, why shouldn't we start from Shacharit? Well, okay, we decide to start from Arvit. What's the big deal? The Tosfot says, a very short Tosfot, says, no, just as Korban Tamid, just as the sacrifice of Tamid, the Korban Tamid that we offer every day, it starts from the morning. So Kriyat Shema also should start with the morning. That's what Tosfot says here. That's how he explains the question. So it's not just a question, why should we start from the evening? Why should we start from the morning? No. The question is, we should start from the morning just as we start Tamid in the morning. Okay? So that's the second question. So again, the first question is, what's the source of the halacha of reading Kriyat Shema? To start with. Not when to read Kriyat Shema, but who says that I need to read Kriyat Shema? The second question is, why are we starting the halachot from the evening and not from the morning? So the answer is, תנא קרקע לכתיב בשופרך ובקומך ואחרי קטן זמן קריאת שמע דשכיבה עמד משעה שהכהנים נכנסים לאכול בתרומתה. So the answer is that the source of this obligation is from the pasuk. What does the pasuk say? בשופרך ובקומך, when you go to sleep and when you wake up in the morning. בשופרך ובקומך, when you get up, right? Those two areas. That's when you have to read Kriyat Shema. And when do we start? We start from בשופרך. For the evening, that's why the Tana also basically is following the order of the Torah, the scriptures, and he also starts from the evening. The second answer is, the second answer is that we learn from the creation of the world. Just as the creation of the world starts from the evening, the Tana also is starting his halachot from the evening. So he doesn't really answer the first question. The first question was, what's the source of reading Kriyat Shema? And the creation of the world, we don't learn anything from the creation of the world. Yeah, we learn the Shofar Kumecha. So the second answer is the second answer is answering the second question. The second question was, why are we starting for the evening? Why don't start from the morning? The answer is, though the creation of the world starts from the morning, that's why we also start from the morning. The Gemara says, if that's the case, Yachi, if that's the case, if it's very important to start from the evening and not from the morning, let's look at Daf Yud Aleph. Let's look at the second part, the second section of this Mishnah. ספר דקתנא בשחר, יחי, ספר דקתנא בשחר מברך שתיים לפניה, ואחד אחריה, ובערב מברך שתיים לפניה, ושתיים לאחריה. ליתני דרבית, ברשע. Why are we not starting the sefer that says, b'shachar, over there we say that in the shachar in the morning, we say 2 blessings before Kriyat Shema and 2 blessings after. מברך שתיים לפניה and 1 after. And בערב in the evening, we say 2 blessings before and 2 after. Okay? Why don't we start over there for the morning? If starting in the morning is very important, why don't start over there? Nafid Aleph, why don't you start over there in the morning? So Tosfot explains. How does Tosfot explain this question? Tosfot says that this question applies only for in the second answer. What was the second answer? The creation of the world. The creation of the world, we start from the evening and we end in the morning. So it's not particularly about Kriyat Shema. The first answer, that says that we should start from the evening because we learn it from the pasuk. So okay, that's Kriyat Shema. So Kriyat Shema is very unique. That has to start from the evening. That's what we learn from the pasuk. But our second answer that says the creation of the world. So this principle of starting from the evening applies to every single thing, not just Kriyat Shema. Okay, so that's the case. Why do we start the sefer from the evening? The Gemara says, תנא פתח בערבית, והדר תנא בשחרית, עד דקה בשחרית, פריש מילד השחרית, והדר פריש מילד הערבית. Gemara says, since we start off the evening, and then we continue with shacharit, so since we're still talking about the laws of shacharit, we just continue with the laws of shacharit, and we go back to discuss about the laws of arvit. So you cannot answer, so the answer to the question is, that it's true, we need to start from the evening. But there's another principle, that once we starting the laws of shacharit, we don't want to confuse people. You start from the laws of shacharit, we just continue with the laws of shacharit, and then we end with arvit. Gemara says, Amar Mor, so now we quote the Gemara that says, the Mishnah, that says, when is the time to eat Kriyat Shema? It's when the Kohanim go inside to eat the Truma. As we know, they're allowed to eat the Truma only when they are pure. Gemara says, Michti Kohanim, Emad Ka'achre Truma. Mishat Tzedek Kochavim. Lidne Mishat Tzedek Kochavim. Gemara says, why are you going round about and telling me that the time to eat Kriyat Shema is when the Kohanim are going inside to eat Truma? If the time it's Tzedek Kochavim, nightfall, when 3 stars appear, so just explicitly say that the time is Tzedek Kochavim. Why are you giving this sign of the Kohanim when the Kohanim are going inside? If when the Kohanim are going inside to eat Truma, it's Tzedek Kochavim, just say Tzedek Kochavim instead of saying Mematay Kurin et Shema b'Arvit Mishah she'Kohanim mechasim b'chol b'Turbatan. When is the time to eat Kriyat Shema? Is when the Kohanim are going inside to eat Truma. Say Mematay Kurin et Shema b'Arvit. When is the time to eat Kriyat Shema? Tzedek Kochavim, when 3 stars appear. That's the right thing to put it. The Gemara says, Milta agav ochei kamesh banan. The Gemara says there's a teaching here. There's 2 things that I want to teach you. What's the thing I want to teach you? The Gemara says, Kohanim emad ka'achre betuma mishat tzedek kochavim. והקמש banan דכפרה לא מעכבה. כתניא ובא השמש ותאר ביד שמשו מעכבת מלאכו בתרומה ואין כפרתו מעכבות מלאכו בתרומה. The Gemara says, I want to teach you something different. Besides teaching you the time of eating Kriyat Shema, I also want to teach you something very significant about the Kohanim. What do I want to teach you? I want to teach you that kapara l'ma'akva, meaning that we know that the kapara, the atonement, will happen only the day after, only on the 8th day, right? Not the 7th day, only on the 8th day, the day after. So I will say, just as the kapara will be so I was thinking that since there's not yet the kapara, there's not yet atonement will be only the day after, only the 8th day. So you can also eat the truma only the day after, not the day before, because there's no atonement yet, right? So that's the chidush. The chidush is just even that the kapara lo ma'akva. The kapara, the atonement, doesn't hold back this person from eating truma. From where do you learn that? So the only thing that holds him back is biyat shemesh, is the sun. When there's still sun there, there's still sun in the sky, that holds him back. Okay? So when the sun sets, then he's allowed to eat truma. But kaparato lo ma'akvat melechot truma. But the atonement doesn't hold him back, and even if there's no atonement, only the day after, still he can eat truma. So what is the meaning of Uba Hashemesh v'ta'er? But when the sun sets, v'ta'er. What is v'ta'er? V'ta'er, not a person. V'ta'er means there's no day anymore. It's night. Pure night. Exactly, it's pure night. Okay? B'yad shemsho ma'akvat melechot truma ve'en kaparato ma'akvat melechot truma. Okay, אז מה says, ומה ידעי הוא ביד שמש, ואי ותאר את היומה, דילמה, ביד אורו, ומה ותאר את הגברה? מה says, one second. Who told you that Uba Shemesh v'ta'er, it talks about the day. Uba Shemesh, meaning the sunset, and the person, and then it's pure night. V'ta'er is pure night. Maybe we're talking about the person. Uba Shemesh, meaning the sunrise, and the day after. V'ta'er, meaning the person needs to purify himself by going to mikveh and being korbanot, right? And then only then you can eat truma. The Gemara says we cannot say that. Why? Amar Rav Bar Rav Shila, אם כן, למכבי תאר. מה ותאר? תאר יומא. קדם אינשא ירב שימשה ודרכי יומא. The Gemara says that we cannot say that. Why? Because if that was the case, then you should use the word v'ta'er. No v'ta'er. Ta'er, it kind of automatically becomes pure. But if you say that the person needs to purify himself, then it has to say uba shemesh, meaning that the day after the 8th day, Shemesh, sunrise, and then he needs to actively do something. He needs to go to mikveh, he needs to bring korbanot, right? And he doesn't say that. So since he doesn't say that, then we learn that it applies to the day and V'taher means that day, the 7th day and not the 8th day. Okay? And the Gemara brings the phrase that Kedama Inche. Yerav Shimsha V'da'ach Yoma. What does it mean? Yerav Shimsha V'da'ach Yoma. It says that the sun set and the day is the day gone. I mean, there's no day, there's night, there's just night. Okay? So we're using the phrase of the people, and that's also how we should explain the pasuk. Amen ve'amen.